Hello everybody and welcome to the first ever Electroheads Motorsport stream. I am here with the wonderful Rob Smedley. We're going to be talking everything Electroheads, and we are also going to be talking about, Rob, your F1 career as well. So Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, thanks, Kai. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think it's going to be a great chat between us two. We've also got Frank and Felix, Rob's sons, who also race. These guys have put in a lot of effort. They've done some hot laps for us, which we will go through later. But first, our first topic is going to be just introducing you guys. And Frank and Felix, you guys both race. And also I race for Matty in X-Kart. So, Rob, what drove you to start the Electroheads Motorsport Championship?
It's a really long story, Kai. Well, I took, as you mentioned, I've done Formula One for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so the boys always wanted to do a little bit of go-kart racing, and it was never possible because I was always traveling and all the rest of it. Anyway, then when I finally stopped for a while with when I left Williams, we went. Birrell Art were really kind, and they sent me a little go-kart. The boys were Bambino age at the time, so I took them to the track, and they had a little go on a Bambino kart, and they absolutely loved it. But then the more we got into it, the more I realised really that it was quite difficult for a lot of families to get into. The costs are so high. It's not really accessible. You need a lot of technical knowledge, all of that type of stuff. So I thought, why not start a series which is much more accessible, which is much more affordable, which needs much less technical knowledge, bring my knowledge from Formula One, and try to help people to get into karting, and that's where we started, and here we are.
Well, yeah, you've made it definitely quite far from then. So Electroheads, it's a new championship, just getting your name out there. Do you think in a couple of years, with obviously electric being quite new in the car world, but it's also got a lot of hype around it, so do you think that Electroheads will be a contender with the mainstream motorsport championship soon?
I think that what we need to do, my message all the time, Kai, is that karting is so small at the minute, and it's small because of what we talked about, because it's so expensive for families to get into. So I think that if we're able to grow the number of people and the number of participants and the number of kids that can get involved in this, then there's got to be enough room for petrol and electric. You know, we shouldn't be fixed on whether it's petrol, whether it's electric. What it is it's karting, and it's getting young boys and girls out on the track, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's driving them. You know, whether it's electric engine, it might be hybrid in the future. It might be hydrogen. It might be the traditional petrol engines that we've had for the last 50 years, which are absolutely brilliant. You know, I love those engines. Those little two-stroke engines or the four-stroke engines that have come in recently. It's all brilliant, but whatever floats your boat. But I just wanted to give to the young families and the young boys and girls to get into karting an alternative which was slightly less expensive. So my answer is, I think there's enough room for everybody.
I mean, that obviously, we had to stop karting for a while due to budget, and I completely agree with you on that one. I think it's putting a great message out there in the karting world, and also that brings me quite well onto my next thing that I was going to bring up, which is your slogan. It's faster, fairer, cheaper, cleaner. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, that's when we looked at it, and we thought, right, well, it wasn't really my idea, so I can't claim it. I'm not very good at all that type of stuff. But the guys who I've got who look after that bit of the business, they said faster, fairer, cheaper, cleaner, and I said, yeah, well, it probably is. It is a little bit cleaner, as we know, but we don't want to be evangelical about that. It's not just about how clean it is, but that's a great message. It's for the same end of straight speed, these electric karts are always a little bit faster out of the corner. They're always a little bit torqueier, so we can, that's where the faster bit comes from. The fairer is the biggest bit for me. The fairer is really, really important because we've all seen, not just in karting, but in every single level of motorsports, if you've got the best equipment, you will win. And what I noticed when I started karting a couple of years ago with the boys was that it was very easy to go out and buy the best engines. It's the best engine, the best kit, or buy your way into the top teams. And all of that's great, but what about the guys who can't afford to do that?
Yeah.
You know, what about the young families and the boys and girls who want to go karting and they can't afford to do it? And that's why karting really loses so many people, because families find that they just can't afford to keep up with the families that do have the means to be able to spend that. So by having an electric power plant, by having an electric motor that drives the karts, then we can use some super trick whiz bang trickery from Formula One, which means all the power is exactly the same. You know, so we've brought our knowledge of something really bright and shiny and scientific called control systems engineering. So we bring that from the MGUK knowledge that we have from Formula One, and we apply it to these little electric engines. And what that means is that we end up with parity. We end up with the same power for each and every car. So the main thing here is why I say fairer, is that all of the boys and girls who race the karts are all on exactly the same equipment. So the only differentiator, the only difference is the driver talent.
Yeah. And you were talking about bringing some of your knowledge across from F1 into this new championship that you've made. Actually, I think this is a good time to start talking about your F1 career. So, obviously F1, it's such a select sport. There's not many people who manage to get into it. But Rob, you were one of the people who worked hard. You managed to get into it. But so, what made you want to get into the race engineer role, though?
Well, I mean, it all started when my dad took me to the Grand Prix many years before you and everybody listening tonight was born. It was in the 80s, and my dad took me to the Grand Prix, and we went to the British Grand Prix. And I didn't really know anything about Formula One. You know, I was a massive football fan. I've always been a massive football fan, and I followed football. And my dad said to me, "Would I like to go to the Grand Prix?" So he took me to Silverstone. And I was just blown away by these cars. You know, there was in them days, there was the V12s and the V10s. You know, the regulation was open, and I was just blown away by the noise, by the beauty, by the engineering art of these cars. And I decided that I wanted to work on Formula One cars. And I come from an area where not many Formula One engineers were born, to put it bluntly. I come from the northeast in a town in Middlesbrough, which is a brilliant town. It's still my hometown. But there's not many Formula One engineers that have come out of there. So you know, it was about working hard. It was about, you know, going and getting my exams at school. You know, first of all, when I was 16, and I did my GCSEs, and then my A levels, and then a degree in mechanical engineering, and then just working hard from there on in. You know, just being ready to do anything, and eventually get into Formula One. And the thing that I really liked about the race engineering, which was, you know, the bit you were asking me, was that you need to be you need to have knowledge of the whole part of the car, you know. So it's not just a specific knowledge. I started off actually as a design engineer, so I was designing parts, and I used to design gearbox, and I used to design suspension, and I went on to be a structural engineer, which means that you've got to design all of the car and see if it's going to break or not. So you want to get it as light as possible, but it's got to be as safe as possible. So I was a structural engineer, and eventually I became a track engineer, a data engineer, then a performance engineer, and then a race engineer. And the thing about that is you need to know a bit about every single bit of the car. So you need to know about the tires and the suspension and the aerodynamics and the structural integrity of the car. You need to be very well organized, and you need to work directly with the driver and get all of that you know, information to kind of coach the driver and make him faster, you know, because even Formula One drivers, you know, I bet we've got some karting drivers on here tonight, but even Formula One drivers, they need just as much coaching as karting drivers, if not even more. You know, I find that even more, because we're just down into the fine details all the time. So that's why I became a race engineer.
Yeah, and you've been a race engineer. You were a race engineer, for quite a few years, especially, as many people will know, race engineer for Felipe Massa. And you've worked with a couple of teams, which obviously you worked with Ferrari whilst engineering Felipe. What has actually been your favourite team that you've worked with, and why?
Do you know what? They're all special. I worked with 4 Formula One teams. So I started at Stewart, which then became Jaguar, which then became Red Bull. And I spent a short time there. And then I went to Jordan, where Eddie Jordan, when it was still Jordan, and Jordan now is in today's money, that's Aston Martin. So you see how all these teams move on. Then I went to Ferrari, and then I went to Williams. And the thing is, Kai, they're all really, really special. I've got special memories from all of them. You know, when I was younger and I was in Stewart and then subsequently Jordan, we were probably a little bit dafter and we were probably a little bit smaller. Definitely the teams were really small back then.
Yeah.
But then, you know, and I have some really good memories of being involved in every single part of it, just being headless almost every single day when I was at work. And then you go to Ferrari where, you know, there's a lot more people and it was a bit of a winning machine at that time. You know, this was the era going back to the early 2000s when the early and mid 2000s when we were winning everything. You know, we won 7 world championships, I think, in 8 world championships in 10 years, something like that. I can't remember all the numbers because we had so many records then. So we were like the current day Mercedes. You know, Mercedes would win everything. You know, back in the day when I was at Ferrari, that's what that was like, and it was just brilliant. It was brilliant to be surrounded by this amazing group of people, and you know, it was a real honour for me to be involved in that team. You see, a lot of us who were there have all gone on to do, you know, different things at senior levels with sport or different teams or stuff like that. It was just a really fantastic time. And then when I went to Williams, you know, Williams was a team that needed a lot of TLC. It was a team that needed a lot of care and attention. That was back in 2014. And before that, you know, they were 9th and 10th in the World Championship. They were having a torrid time, a little bit like what they are now.
Yeah.
And we did some, you know, it was really nice to get stuck in there. I went there in a senior position, I guess. And it was nice to be part of that group, that senior group that turned Williams around. You know, we went from being last in the World Championship to 3rd in the World Championship. So kind of like where Red Bull are now, Red Bull and Ferrari, that type of level of Formula One team. And we did that, you know, over a few years. So that was really interesting as well. So I've got good memories and picked up lots of friends from all of that.
Yeah, and obviously you talked about moving on in the engineering side. If you ever had the chance, would you be a race engineer again?
I don't know. It's a really, really tough question, and I guess, you know, the roles that I've had, you know, since being a race engineer, you get used to managing bigger groups of people, you know, and used to managing bigger problems, I guess. Even though the race engineering is a really, really important, a massively important job for the team. So I don't know. I might be. I don't know whether race engineer. It feels like a bit of a younger man's game, to be honest. I might be getting a bit long in the tooth now to be a race engineer. The drivers might feel like I'm more like the dad than the race engineer.
And obviously, we are taking questions from the chat. And what I've noticed is one of the questions in the chat is, do Frankie and Felix aspire to be race professionals, to race at a high level in motorsport? And I'm guessing that's a question that they can answer as well.
Yeah, you're going to answer it, boys. Do you want to be professional racing drivers?
Well, yeah, it would be nice to be. It's hard, but yeah, I suppose.
I would like to be an F1 engineer.
So we've got an F1 engineer and an F1 driver.
So maybe work together.
Yeah, you could have that. He's going to earn the money and he's going to spend it.
I can't wait to see that in the future. Gonna look out for the Smedley duo, the Smedley boys duo. And what we're gonna move on to now is actually a couple of questions that we had put in from the social media posts that we put out. So we will have a couple of questions from them. The first question that we've been asked is, Rob, this is a very technical question, so I hope you're up for it. How important is aerodynamics and downforce in a race car if the engine isn't that powerful?
Well, do you know what, Kai? The reality is to have a fast racing car, need to have, it's like having a fast racing kart.
Yeah.
Need to have every single thing perfect. You know, to have a kart or a car, a Formula One car that wins, you need to have everything perfect. But if you take a Formula One car, the three what we call performance, principal performance factors. So the three main things that drive performance in a Formula One car are engine power, the tyre grip, so how much grip you can get out of the tyres and how much you can get them in the window of when they're working perfectly, And finally, aerodynamics. So aerodynamics is very, very important. And if you take the teams like Mercedes and teams like Red Bull who've got aerodynamics nailed, then you can see that they're right at the front of the grid. But a team like Mercedes has got everything. So it's got the most powerful engine. It's probably got the most complete driver on the grid in Lewis. And it's also got the best aerodynamics. You know, the car is very, very well balanced and has a lot of downforce. And the more downforce you have, the faster you can go through the corners. It's as simple as that. It's like having more tyre grip on your kart.
Next, we've got a question from JJ34 Karting. What was it like to work alongside Felipe Massa? You must get this question a lot.
No, I was the master. I was the master.
I guess you could say that.
Good fun, actually. We had some good times, and you know, when I first started to work with Felipe, he was struggling a bit. He just joined Ferrari. He was still very, very young, especially for, you know, back then. You know, drivers have become a little bit younger now, but he was very young into a big, big team like Ferrari, where there's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation. And I was quite young to that level as well. You know, for a race engineer, when I was kind of thrown in at the deep end by, you know, a guy a bit of a legend of Formula One, who's still my boss now, a guy called Ross Brawn. He said to me that he wanted me to go and race engineer Felipe Massa. I went and did that, and it was just all about, you know, we started off with this really tentative relationship, and then we just started working closer and closer together. And what happened, Kai, which is really, really important in a driver and race engineer relationship, is we built trust over time. We built a lot of trust. So that we were really able to live in each other's pockets, and I knew how much I could lean on Felipe, and Felipe knew how much he could lean on me, and we've become, you know, from that a friendship group. You know, I was just chatting to him today. We're still really, really good friends. He's my best friend in Formula One, you know, and always will remain that. So it's been great working with him. You know, I loved working with him, and I would probably, when we're old and grey and he's doing these stock cars or whatever he's doing in Brazil, I might go and help him out there as well.
Yeah, I'd say another Felipe and Rob collab would be amazing. But our final question is going to be from Karina, which is, what is your favourite ice cream flavour?
Well, I'm not a big ice cream fan, so what I'm going to do, but thanks for the question, Karina. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the boys, because they're both ice cream experts. So, Frankie, what's your favourite ice cream flavour?
Salted caramel.
Salted caramel.
Salted caramel, classic.
Mango or strawberry.
Mango or strawberry.
Mango
so
strawberry.
salted caramel, mango, strawberry. And then I'll have a bit of, Frankie said pistachio, so I'll eat a bit of that.
I love a bit of pistachio in my ice cream myself. Never fault it. But next we're going to move on to Electroheads, which is pretty much the main reason why we're here tonight. And Rob, just get a bit of an overview. What is Electroheads? And tell us a bit about the karts as well.
So the karts are, so as we talked about before, they're electric powered karts, they're e-powered karts. And the reason that they're e-powered karts is just because that's the easiest way for me as an engineer to make sure that all the karts are exactly the same. It's an arrive and drive series. So I've got a group of engineers and mechanics, and they prepare all the karts. So, you know, as a driver, you just need to rock up, you just turn up, and you just do your race for the weekend. So it's like a normal race weekend. We practice and test on a Saturday, and then we qualify and race and do all of that good stuff on a Sunday. So it's a full race weekend. I think we've got to go, you know, at the minute where, especially in April time, we're like 1-day events just because of the COVID restrictions. But after that, we'll be back to 2-day events. The mechanics and the engineers, they take care of absolutely everything. So, you know, mum and dad don't have all of that stress. Trying to mechanic the car and get it up and down to the dummy grid, and trying to start up these engines when they won't start, and all of that great stuff that you see that goes on. The karts are all identical. At the minute, we've got a fleet of Bambino karts, which is suitable for 6 to 8-year-old. I'm not a karting expert, but I think that's about the age. And then we've got the cadet group as well, which goes up to 12 years old. So they're equivalent karts to what you'll see at any kart circuit around the UK or in the world for that matter, between a Bambino and a Cadet. And the only difference is they've got this electric power plant. They do the same speeds as the petrol karts. They're a little bit more torquey out of the corners, so you get a bit more torque out of the corners, which the drivers really like. I think at the race starts, it's really good because it gives you a lot of torque and a lot of power at the race starts. Yeah. All of that type of stuff. So it's exactly what we talked about. It's to give the young families hopefully an affordable entry level where you don't have to buy equipment, you don't have to buy, you don't have to invest in anything, you don't have to have any kind of knowledge because we do everything for you at the weekend. So it's just to try to make it as easy and accessible as we possibly can.
And you were talking about it being accessible, and obviously you were talking about the group of mechanics that you have on hand and you guys carrying around the car. It's all like an arrive and drive series that you'd have at hire karts. Do you think that's what makes it a lot more accessible for a lot of families?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at it now, Kai, if a lot of mums and dads are not specialists in, or they struggle a little bit to understand 2-stroke, 4-stroke engines.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's this really strong perception when you get to a kart track that guy's got a better engine than this guy, and his engine from this tuner is better than that one, and all the rest of it. So for us, and then families really then struggle with it's kind of like a paranoia and a panic that perhaps they're not running the carburation correct and all of this type of stuff, or they haven't got the best engine, and so or what's the best setup for the karts? How do you run the tire pressure? Where should you run the front caster and camber, and where should the rear ride height be? Do you need a solid rear axle? Do you need a hollow rear axle? All of these things just tend to cost money and tend to cost stress, and aren't really adding anything to the young boys and girls' enjoyment. So for us, it was all about just taking all of that away. And I wouldn't really describe it as a corporate experience because they are racing cars. These are racing cars. They'll do the same speed. But it's more of a team experience. So any young guys who've been lucky enough to be in a team where you've got your own mechanics and everything is kind of laid on, and that you're getting the best service possible. That's what we're trying to do, but we're trying to do that for a much more reduced price. So all the guys driving these karts, they know that that there's a they're equal. The karts are equal. Mum and dad aren't stressing that they don't understand how to do the setup. The drivers aren't stressing they don't know how to do the setup. So everything's kind of we try to do everything just to make it easy as possible.
Yeah, and I think one of the draws for a lot of families is going to be the word cheaper. So just for a bit of background about how much cheaper is Electroheads going to be than your normal mainstream karting championship?
Well, it really depends, Kai, because I've heard a lot of numbers kind of moved about. We're around about £450 for a weekend, which for people who aren't in karting, that might sound a lot, but basically, if you think that you can come and do a 10-round championship with us for £5,000, and I accept that is still an awful lot of money for every single family in Great Britain. But when you think that just to get started in normal karting, you're spending much more than £5,000, and then when you get to the track, you realise that you've probably got the wrong engine and the wrong kart and the wrong this and the wrong that. And then you've got entries and you've got tyres and you've got consumables and you've got spares, and when you crash it costs a lot of money and all the rest of it. We think that offers a reasonable value for money. Now, what we would love to do and what we're going to drive towards is, as we grow this and the business, just to get really boring about it, as the business gets a little bit more a bit more revenue and it can stand on its own 2 feet, because me and my wife Lucy have supported it and put our money into it up to now, and it's just starting to kind of look after itself. And when it does, and it makes more money, then my pledge is that we need to get that price down. I want to get that price, further and further down. And as we can grow this and we can scale it, and we can scale even outside of the UK, so it goes into the rest of Europe and then the rest of the world, then that's what, that gives us then that what we call scale, because you're making so many karts and you've got so many guys who are running, that allows us to get the price down even more. So this is just the start, really.
Yeah. This may be the start, but I'm gonna have to say, from my perspective, it's a great start, and it's making it accessible for a lot more families. And I think it's going to be a great championship when it starts up. Just so you guys remember, there is going to be a Thunderbolt Championship, which is going to be before the Summer Championship. If you want to check out the dates for those, you can do !Electro in the chat. And Rob, I just wanted to touch on it a little bit, because I noticed that it was linked in with Electroheads Motorsport. You have the Talent Academy. So what is the mission for the Talent Academy, and who are the drivers right now?
So the mission really is very, very aligned to what we're doing with the Electric Kart Championship and the Electric Kart Series. It's about, I'm going to use a big word now, so you're going to have to forgive me, but it's about democratization. So motorsport for a long time has been the domain of rich people, of well-off people. And if you're going to be successful, then you've got to have a lot of money. And I want to use the academy at lots of different levels. I want to use the academy to get more kids just a taste of motorsport. So we want to use our electric fleet and take that around the country via the academy, so that kids, kids from diverse and different backgrounds, sometimes poorer backgrounds, can come and have a go at the karts. I want to use the academy to find talent that we can get, young drivers to come through our electric series. So if we can get sponsorship underneath the Talent Academy, then we can use that to get these guys running in the electric series for much less than they would, up at the top level. And I also want to filter then the very cream of that talent up into trying to get, give guys a chance who wouldn't normally get that chance, to put them on, set them on the right path to becoming professional racing drivers. And we're all about that at the minute. So we've got two drivers, and it's the same values as we've got in the electric series. It's about diversity, it's about accessibility, it's about inclusion. And so we've got a young girl who races in the British Championship, the British Kart Championship, called Ella Stevens. Probably one of the best pound for pound female talents, not only in the country but in the world right now, for her age. And she's going to go on to do great things. And Ella was the first academy member, believe it or not, because I really believe in getting more and more girls involved in karting. We've got too many boys, so let's get more girls involved. And Ella's a great talent, and she wasn't going to get the opportunity, without the academy. So we've brought her in, and then we've got another great talent called Alfie Briggs, a young guy who's racing in Mini X30 at the minute. Alfie Briggs, and Alfie is another one. Definitely probably wouldn't have, who wouldn't have got the opportunity. So we wanted him in the academy. We want to work with him, and we want to get these two guys headed towards a professional career. And that's what the Talent Academy is all about. It's about taking lots of guys at the very, very grassroots, and then bringing them through, and the most talented ones of them all rising right up to the top of the academy, where we'll guide them and we'll fund them towards a professional career.
Yeah, it sounds like you have two amazing drivers to start off the Talent Academy, and sounds like a great program as well. So now we've talked about Talent Academy, I think now we get on to the fun stuff. We finally get on to the hot laps, what we've all been waiting for. Now you guys have the basis of Electroheads. Now you guys have the basis of everything that's going on. I can see Frankie isn't too happy over there. But now we're going to get on to the hot laps. So I am going to stream my screen in Discord for you guys, so you can see what I'm seeing at the same time. And what we're going to get straight on to is Frankie's hot lap, and we're going to talk over this. So, Frankie, you just start your lap here. Going into the first corner, you can see using a lot of curve on the inside, then a little bit of cutting the grass there. I think that's what I see, just landscaping the track, trying to explore the limits as well. So as we make our way on to the first straight of this track, it's a very technical track, and it's all about carrying the most speed that you can. We see just very wide into the corner, using all the track that's available to him, Frankie. As we make our way down, on our way to the infamous corner of Hobbs, and then we have Maggots and Beckett's, a lot of favourite complex for a lot of drivers. So we make our way through, managed to make it pretty much flat around Hobbs, so that's very nice to see. And then we make it into Maggots, and then we have Beckett's using all the track available to it, maybe even a little bit too much track at some places, so makes it round Chapel, very nice, and then gets the DRS zone activated. We're going to make our way up to the last couple of corners, and we're going to make our way into the final section of the track. Frankie using a lot of the track like usual. He's going to make his way around the final corner. Pretty much now he's going to cross the line, and that is going to be a 134.192 there for Frankie. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You can say that. Congratulations on that lap. Are you happy with that? Are you happy with that lap? That's a real question.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, bear in.
Oh.
Have we gone? No, we're back. Yeah, bear in mind, Kai, that we're using them Xbox controller things. We don't have a steering wheel. I think with a steering wheel, I would have been about 10 seconds faster.
10 seconds faster. So what would that make a lap time then? I guess we'll have to see in a bit. But our next lap is going to be from Frankie. So Felix, sorry. Completely mixed up the names there. So as you make your way onto the lap, you're going to make your way through the fast right-hander, Abby, and then you're going to make your way down to Farm here, and then you're going to have Village, the hairpin after, using a lot of the track, but not the grass this time. So, maybe I spoke a little bit too early there. As we make our way down the Wellington Straight, and we're going to make our way into Brooklands, a very difficult corner to get right. It's off camber and it cuts off midway through the corner. A lot of people struggle through there, and not just the grass this time, it's actually a little bit of the gravel. So unfortunately losing a little bit of time there. But as we make our way down into Cops once again, let's see if we can keep it on the track. Well, kept on the tarmac at least. So we make our way down into Maggots and Beckett's. Once again, a lot of people like this section of the track. It's very technical, but I'd say, like you said, Rob, will give you the benefit of the doubt. You were on Xbox controller, so it's definitely not the easiest thing to drive on. But I guess we'll have to see what's going on as we go up into the final section of the track, just making our way round, and we're gonna about make it into Stowe and Club now. So just making our way around Club, just getting on the throttle as early as possible, and we make it across the line at 136.580. So not as fast as Frankie, but still there. Now, Rob, you're going to be the next one up, and I'm pretty sure, as you can see on the screen, we are having a little look at a couple of behind the scenes of your hot lap. And how about you tell us what your mindset was right now?
Just Kai, absolutely laser focus. Just knowing that I was gonna do a lap, you know, I thought, I can't remember what Lewis's or Valtteri's pole was there last year, but I mean, I knew that I was gonna be really, really close to that. You know, I was gonna be down into the 1:20s. Just really, really laser focused on what I was, because I you know, I have a real natural talent for this, and I thought, right, I'm going to nail this, and I'm going to do a fantastic lap.
So,
Yeah.
Rob, and boys as well, would you say you would have been much faster if you were on that steering wheel instead of that?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, quite a lot faster. I mean, it's just a lot easier to control, I feel like, because I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's a lot easier to control. Sorry.
Right. So, Rob, what would you think about getting a steering wheel sorted out?
Yeah, I think I'll have to get him a steering wheel. I think I'll have to...
You're gonna have to submit another couple of times, see if you can improve on a steering wheel.
I'm going to have to bite the bullet and get a steering wheel, yeah.
Yeah, I think you will. So, as we've just watched a couple of your behind the scenes, Rob, are you ready for your hot lap?
Yeah, I'm ready for my hot lap. I can't remember. I think it was maybe if I remember, it was about a 120 or something like that. It was pretty quick.
All right, okay, so much quicker than the boys. But as we see Rob go breaking into the first corner,
Yeah,
that's an interesting. What was the strategy there?
It was just I tried it about 10 times before, and each and every time being off the track. So I thought, as this was my proper lap, I just tried to get through without ending up in the barrier.
Yeah.
Just exploring all of the track there, Kai. That's just me seeing where the grip is, because that's what professional racing drivers do.
Yeah, opting not to use the DRS as well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of concentration that's going into this, and pressing that Y button, the DRS, which the boys were screaming at me at the time, that was slightly beyond my capability.
It was like we were telling him to do it, and then he was like, "Where is it?" And then we were like, "Well, it's on the controller for a start." And then he was like, "Where?" And then I was like, "Well, it's just above here." And then he went, "Oh, there."
Yeah, that's slightly wide there, but it's a good line. It's a good line. I think if a lot of the guys, when they see this, you know, they're going to be using that at the Grand Prix this year. A lot of the Formula 1 drivers, I think, are going to be using it.
I'd say I've seen quite a few F1 drivers just using a bit of the grass there as well. So I'd say you're quite spot on actually here.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a pretty and there. It's used through Stoke Corner. It's imperative to use the grass.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You know, see how I got the apex precise, carrying a lot.
Stop to get the apex.
Yeah, a lot of speed through there, and then that's just to try. That's what Ayrton Senna did. I think it was about 1988, and that time as well, Kai. It's 20.
Oh, I lost you for a second there, Rob.
I'm back. Yeah, I was just saying, Kai, that I think that the lap time was wrong. It come up as a 124 at the end, but sorry, a 144, but it was actually a 124.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that must have to. We'll double check over that and try to get it sorted out. But we won't be able to hear you for a second. But we are going to check over the hot laps for you guys at home. As you can see on the screen now, we do have the hot lap leaderboard, which if you want to check out, you can do !leaderboard or !comp to enter yourself into this competition. And you can see on the top of the time board, it is going to be Frankie Smedley at the top with 131.192. Then it's going to be Felix with 136.580. And then it's going to be Rob with his 144.525. But we'll have to double check because he did say it was a 124. So Rob will make sure to double check over that. But I meant to show this at the start, but I completely forgot. So we are going to look over my lap now. So using a lot of the curve on the inside, trying to keep it flat, braking just between the 150 meter board, using all the track available to me. And then we go into the hairpin, get a little bit of a power slide on the exit, but don't worry, didn't lose too much time there. Enables the DRS, unlike Rob, he decided to not do so. And then use all the curve available, just get the apex clip there. And then we make our way around, downshift to second to get the extra rotation, short shift to third, and then up through the gears as we make our way down into cops. Just wait a little bit now. So make our way down into cops now, flat using the curve on the inside and the outside. And then make our way into maggots. And Beckett's using the curves. You can see using the curves to hook me round the corner through Chapel there. opting not to use the grass, even though Rob said it is the pro line to use. Unfortunately, I forgot to use it there. But as we, definitely, as we make our way through Stowe, and then we're just gonna make our way down to Vale and Club for the final section. Use the rumble strip to use all the track available, using the curve on the inside and the outside, and also flipping the curve on the inside for the shortest exit to the line. That is going to be a 1:24.380 for me. So there's what? Sorry.
You and Dad are the same. You have the same talent.
Yeah, we both got 1:24.
Yeah. Well done, Kai. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I haven't had as much practice as you. I think with another half an hour's practice, I'll get that down in the 19s.
Yeah, down into the 17s.
19s.
19s, right? Okay.
17s with a couple of hours practice. No, seriously, that was a really good lap.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
What was pole position? Can you remember pole position last year in 2020? It's got to be around that.
I'd say it was around that, but the simulator times are normally a bit quicker than real life, so I'd say probably around high 24s, around 25s area would be pole last year. But
that was good. Well done.
Not too bad. I'll take it. And it's nice to be getting some praise from someone who's even worked in Formula One themselves, so I'll take it. Rob, that's pretty much going to round it up for here today. If anyone's got any questions in chat, make sure to put them in. I've had a look at the timings. If anyone's got any questions in chat, make sure to put them in. We are open to any questions that are thrown at us. I'm pretty sure Rob's able to answer a couple more if he's up for it.
I'll try.
You'll try.
Yeah, as long as they're not hard technical questions.
Right. Apparently, pole last year was Lewis did a 1:24.303, so I was a couple hundredths off. I was very close, but still not on that level.
Yeah, being a 10th off Lewis, I think, is a good start, Kai. I think you're on the right path.
That's good. That's good to know. But Rob, that is pretty much going to end it there for us. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I would just like to thank the partners of Electroheads Motorsport and also me. We've got KKC Karting Components. We've got HRX Bespoke Motorsports. Birla, as you said, mentioning the chassis, and Stilo for those wonderful helmets. And then sponsoring me will be Playseat Fanatec, which I use for my amazing rig, which I was using for that whole lap, so make sure to check them out if you want to. Then XCar is the team that I drive for. Chill Blast I use for my PC, and Bell Helmets is going to be the helmets which I use, so a little bit of a clash there, but we won't talk about it. Stilo helmets, you see a lot of drivers using them. Bell helmets, a lot of drivers using them, so obviously two amazing helmet companies. Actually, we got a question in chat. Rob, do your boys... We've already had this question. So, do your boys have any intentions of racing? Felix, I'm pretty sure you want to be a race engineer. So, a bit of influence from your dad there. And I'm pretty sure, Felix, you said that you want to be... no, Frankie, you want to be a racing driver. Rob, actually, what I wanted to ask you was that you mentioned that you don't just want to get kids into racing motorsport. You also gonna want to get... people into the other aspects of motorsport, like engineering, stuff like that. So how are you going to be able to achieve that with Electroheads Motorsport? Because
what I want to do, Kai, I think it's really, really important. The whole education thing, if you like, is really important because what we got to remember is that, I've got two guys here. One wants to be a racing driver, one wants to be an engineer. There's many more engineers than there are drivers, and there's a lot of young people that chase the dream of becoming a driver. It doesn't happen, and then what happens is they haven't got a lot to fall back on if they haven't got an education. And I think that karting is a brilliant way of teaching kids about what we call STEM education. So STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and it's a brilliant way of teaching young people about that. So we want to bring that into our championship as well, and the academy. We want to bring that across both the academy and the electric kart championships, and electric kart running. And it's just a brilliant way of bringing education and making education fun. It doesn't have to be a boring classroom. kind of environment. It needs to be something which is fun and which the young guys and girls are happy to take part in. So that's why I want to bring that on, and then as we grow Electroheads Motorsport, we get more and more partners, and big partners. I mean, big partners with who are able to employ a lot of people. Then we want to find places for the guys that come through our championships or come through our academy in some way. The guys who perhaps aren't going to make it as professional racing drivers, but have learned a lot from karting. But also then, by having that bit more, science and technology background, that eventually they might want to go on to do degrees in motorsport engineering or just, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, in maths, in sciences, and even the marketeers, we want to get people who are interested in that as well, and just give people opportunity. It's just, what we're about, the big word that I use all the time is we're about opportunity. We want to give people opportunity.
Yeah, we're going to take 2 more questions from the chat, so thanks everybody for submitting your questions. Rob, Frankie and Felix, what are your favourite teams?
Formula One teams?
Yeah, F1 teams.
McLaren.
Difficult question put on the spot.
McLaren as well.
McLaren as well, good choice.
So 2 McLaren. I work for Formula One management now. So I'm not allowed to have a favourite team. But I think that Ferrari, after being there for such a long time, will always have a special place in my heart. But I like all the teams, and especially I'm an engineer. And the reason why I, get out of bed or got out of bed as a Formula One engineer was to win. And right now it's Mercedes who are dominating, and it's Mercedes who are winning. So they are. I'm also really, really impressed by what they do, and I think that they've just got a great team from the very, very top, from Toto, who I think does a fantastic job, all the way down to the to the guys back in Brackley. So they are a fantastic team as well. But I've got a soft spot for a lot of the teams actually.
Yeah, and our final question is going to be: any advice for kids that struggle with STEM subjects in school going forwards, that they want to drive but want something to fall back on in motorsport?
Well, look, it doesn't have to be. I talked about STEM because I think that STEM is a when you think about karts and Formula One cars and rally cars and all of that, it's a really, if we've got young people who are engaged and interested in those, then of course that's an easy way to teach them about what we call the STEM subjects. Yeah. But not everybody can be good at STEM subjects. Everybody's got a superpower somewhere. Einstein, who was a really famous guy who some of our listeners might have heard of, he said everybody's a genius in some form or another. So you've just got to find what you're good at. And the Formula One teams now are so big. Motor racing is getting so big now that each and every type of let's say vocation or education or whatever your superpower is, wherever your genius is, a Formula One team needs it. So just concentrate on what you are good at and don't worry too much about what you're not good at, because who cares? You know what I mean? Get through the things that you need to get through, but really concentrate and really excel. Put all the effort into the things that you are good at. That's my message. And if you really do want to get into motor racing, then even into Formula One, and you're good at something, then excel at that, and then put yourself forward, and eventually, you're going to be lucky enough that a Formula One team will take you on, and you can be doing your dream job and doing exactly what you're good at as well.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. That's the word. We've been on here so long, I'm losing my ability to speak. Rob, we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for your time as well. To everybody back at home, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure putting this on for you guys. I hope you guys go check out Electroheads. You can do !Electro or !Comp in the chat to get involved in our competition to win a £50 voucher to spend at any of our events, and !Electro to check out the Electroheads website and all their socials. That's it from me and Rob, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.